Guillermo Trejo is with me at La Petite Mort, the gallery on Cumberland Street, 306 Cumberland Street in Ottawa. Guillermo, you have just started, it's starting today, this exhibition.
Yes.
What's the name of this exhibition?
The exhibition is called At the Other Side of Lake Erie, and it's an exhibition where I'm presenting works that I did during my last residency at Cleveland, Ohio, in a print studio called Zygote Press.
I love these prints here. Can you help us understand them?
Yeah, these are a series of four dry point etchings that I did while I was in Cleveland, and they're inspired on the debates. When I was in the United States, it was during the period of the elections, and it was really interesting for me how somehow the politicians, they were arguing about issues that somehow are the same, just seen from different perspectives, from the Democratic perspective or the Republican perspective, and how somehow the rhetorics were the ones who changed, but not the issues. So I decided to create these abstract shapes that are based on the movements that I see during the elections. So these ones represent hands. So they're hands moving. That's kind of the idea. It came from the pattern came from a CNN TV program where they were talking about the hand gestures of the candidates. Mm-hmm. So then what I decided to do is just to print these abstract shapes and just have them in different, like the same design in different compositions. So this one is called the Democrats, and this one is called the Republicans. So it's basically the same shape.
So the Democrats are in blue and
the Republicans are in kind of a pinkish. But the idea was to just show how these structures, they change.
You switched the symbols,
yeah,
the colors.
Yeah, and,
so
and
you
at
want
the center is the. So let's say that the shape is healthcare, right? Mm-hmm. Or immigration laws, but the design changes depending on the color that you have. So the rhetorics change how to understand these issues, and that was kind of the idea.
So you want us to shift our perceptions about what a certain color means and a certain line means?
Yeah, more than, I don't want to give I think that the reason why I'm using abstract shapes for this series is because I don't want to give final positions. It's just more about thinking about how an image can change so easily just by changing an minimum element, like in this case the color, and how this thing can be used also for political argument, for example.
What I find very interesting about these prints is that some of them have different backgrounds. Like this one I'm looking at, it has purple, it has, not purple, pink, orange,
pink and red.
Different colors. While this one here, you keep it very simple. You just fill in a few spaces, mm-hmm, and the background is essentially white.
Yeah.
So what does this mean, these backgrounds here?
Well, these ones start as these, like just being halves, and I was thinking about how these shapes were got in by just putting this triangle, and mm-hmm, it was kind of two compositions of the same image, just divided in two by the color and how they change in terms of intention. Mm-hmm. And then I just tried to go to the next level. So this one is just kind of an experiment. The backgrounds itself, they were not really planned. They were just more like things that happened during the studio time. You're in the studio and you have all this material, and it's just working time. So there was not really a conscious approach for the backgrounds.
So these prints are different from the others in you capturing the body language.
Yeah.
And also in the materials that you used.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because actually this material is the same materials that I use for the skulls. It's just a different treatment. So it just shows how much possibilities printmaking have. You can change radically the quality of the print just by using different techniques. However, they are being printed in the same machine and with the same materials and the same inks.
This series of 6, what is the name?
They're all called debate, so it's debate 1, debate 2, debate 3, and debate 4. And the ones on the sides are called Republican and Democrat. And they were all following this system of debates that are used in the United States, where they have a first debate, second debate, third debate, for talking about different issues. So that was kind of the logic behind this.
So you again maintain a political discourse?
Sorry?
You maintain a political discourse that's now applied to the United States?
Yeah.
Do you think this could be translated in Canada? Certain aspects?
Yes, I think so. I think so. It could be translated to Canada somehow. I would like to do it. Maybe I need to be more conscious about what's going to happen in political issues and more living in Ottawa, right? I should be more proactive in that way. But as we talked before, there's a limitation at this moment. But maybe hopefully next year.
Next year, I would love to see that exhibition. We are moving to your wonderful skulls. We have seen one yesterday.
Yeah.
This is similar, it's not the same one, is it?
It's really similar.
And again, we have it in 3 backgrounds.
Yes.
And the meaning of having it in 3 backgrounds.
Well, in this case, it was more about the quality of printmaking, where you can repeat when you have a plate, you can repeat it as many times as you want. And it was more about playing with the different qualities, and different compositions that you can have. The two, let's say, new ones, or that you haven't seen, this one and this one, are the result from this. So this was the first one, and then it's called reduction technique. So actually, this was a complete plate, and then I cut out the plate, and this became this, and then from this one was made. So it's kind of an evolution a little bit. It's not so evident for the people who don't know about the technique, but at least for me, there's like a process that I find interesting to see, and how this thing could shape into another composition, another print. But this is definitely more talking about the medium itself. This one is definitely the most strong in terms of the conceptualization and the reason why I did it. As I mentioned before, the orange is this color from Cleveland, and the ink was from Cleveland, and they have all these local connotations.
Skulls show up in your art a lot,
Yeah.
and I always feel that the meaning of skulls changes from exhibition to exhibition, from print to print.
Yes.
In this particular exhibition, what would you like us to think about your skulls in terms of the message?
Well, I think that the skulls are just a reminder that basically that's what we are, right? And that's where we are going. And somehow I just like to maintain present this reality that there's nothing more farther than pretty much dying at some point. So I just want to keep this consciousness of constant, and not that I'm worried about, not that I'm not worried about dying. It's just about being conscious that this thing happened, and maybe that's why I use so much. I really like the image of the skull, because it's a way to maintain yourself conscious.
Also with the skulls, what I love about it is that we cannot put ourselves in a category. For example, we don't see a white person or black person. It's a skull. It's a.
Yeah, it's
we
a
are
generic.
humans. We are all the same. So when we look at these skulls, we look at the quintessence
Yeah.
of the human body.
Yes, I think that you describe it in a better way, but it's pretty much my intention, you know, like don't talk about a specific person or a specific race. It's more talking about. In Mexico, there's a phrase that it's doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, everyone will be in a skull. That's basically the translation, and I think that's pretty much what I try to do when I do skulls, is just to remind that everyone is the same at the end.
Exactly. Amazing. Thank you so much. And here, you love monkeys.
I actually I'm not really I don't really love monkeys. It was more a circumstance when I was in Cleveland. At some point, I was working at the print studio, and there was this guy who was doing extremely realistic works, and he was kind of not really impressed with my abstractions. So then I decided, well, I will show you that I can do a monkey, right? So I did a monkey, but somehow the monkey became like the position of the monkey and the face that I give to the monkey is like a thinker, like, or someone who seems to be like seeing and thinking, and it became like at least for me, like a portrait, or how I was doing, or what I was doing while I was away in the United States. So I was just there, sitting down and seeing and observing all of these things, and maybe some people will think like I wasn't actually doing anything, but I was absorbing all of these things. So sometimes I think that we think that animals are not conscious or they're not doing anything, but actually they are really, really conscious, and they're, at least for me, they're somehow absorbing.
What I find interesting about these prints is the quality of the paper changed.
Yes.
And the backgrounds are more intense on 3 of them. And one of them you actually added nature.
Yes, the one with nature was, again, that was more about the technique qualities, you know, and I was just exploring how far I can go with this material. So that's similar to what I was talking about, the skull. This is a similar process. So the plate started like this, and then there was a second version, and then there was I worked the plate again, I did the plants, and that's the result. So again, for people who are not...
So this is like a negative, or?
This is an original where...
Original.
Oh, this is a whole plate that is like this square or this rectangle, all with ink. And this is the same rectangle, but I just cut out all the shape, and with the rest I did the flowers or the plants. So it's like a plastic sheet, and it's called reduction technique because you work and rework the plate, so you reduce the printing area. So at the end the plate just looked like that, became flat.
Using a monkey as a thinker, is it a Darwinist statement as well?
Yeah, for sure, indirectly, but there's something about that. I mean, it's kind of direct in a way to use a monkey and a skull, but it's kind of like a Darwinist, but not for a specific reason, you know, not because I was trying to do a specific comment in Darwin or something, or an evolution. It was just something that happened. I think that a lot of my work happened on the studio when I'm just there sitting and trying to find an idea, and sometimes these ideas came and at the beginning they don't have too much sense, but when they are all together they became more coherent. So that's one of the examples, I think so.
Beautiful. Do you have more of them at home or in the studio?
No, these ones are all. I have one of these, but it was not a success, and one of these stay at Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. So Guillermo, what do we have here?
These are
Dictator
Tropical. Yeah. These 2 prints, they came at the same time, and they were more about doing they were like, again, not really conscious about what I was doing. It was more about the technique and how much I can push myself to work with this material. But they became really evident. So, at least for me, they're kind of about traveling. I think that if you see the skull, the monkey, the rose, and the dictator, they're all like imperialist themes. So I don't know, maybe I was having like an imperialist moment, and I was thinking like I was conquering other place, and that's why I decided to do this. The image originally came from a magazine that I found in Cleveland, and it was about, actually, it was not a dictator, it was more like a actor from a play in the 18th century, or 19th century. And I took the image from there as an inspiration to do this face.
There is a fascination with the dictators.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of fascinated by these characters of people that are somehow they're able to jump over the crowd and somehow put the positions over lives, like they can pretty much just kill whatever they want to. And it's not as a fascination in a positive way. It's not that I'm expecting to become a dictator or something like that, but I just find really bizarre how people also react to these images. And in Mexico we have at least like 2 or 3 personages that became really iconic, and I'm still surprised how people have all this respect and they have all this imaginary, and they have posters, and there's paintings and monuments and sculptures everywhere. And if you look at the history, they were actually pretty much like monsters. So
Let's talk a little bit about this one. You combine here a rose with bones.
yeah,
In many ways, they can represent death, but they represent other things as well.
yeah. During my time at Cleveland, it was also the same time as the Mexican celebration of the Day of the Dead in November, and there was a lot of the Mexican community in the United States, and especially in Cleveland, for some reason, was quite big. So they were having all these festivities and all these events about the Day of the Dead, and I think that somehow I became maybe melancholic about not being in Mexico. So I think that from this reason, I just took this imaginary that is quite popular. So these 2 images, especially, they're coming specifically from a popular imaginary from Mexico. They're not like high art. They're more coming from the people's imaginary and the designs that you can see during the celebration of the Day of the Dead.
I would like you to step back for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And just a little bit back, further back, to the center. And I want you to look at all of them and just, see how they evolved. You started with a dictator.
Yeah.
And you went back to your country with the memories, and then you make a Darwinist statement or related to Darwin, and then you get into politics, into very contemporary issues here.
Yeah.
And then we move to something that you have perfected, the skulls.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have, they can have global meanings, they can have philosophical meanings. So how do you think?
I never think about that. It's an interesting perception of my work. I never think about this. I don't even think that when me and Guy were installing the show, we think about this. It's an interesting interpretation.
It's like a story.
Yeah, I like the fact that you can find a literal story or line in the prints. That's great. I will use that tonight.
I wanted to ask you something personal.
Yeah.
Of all of them, do you have one that's closer, you feel closer to?
I would say the one there.
This one?
Yeah, just because it was the first of this series that I finished, or that I feel that it was finished, and I feel like it's like the eureka moment when you say, yes,
Yes.
I know where I'm going. So that's for that reason, I think. Like the rest of the prints, they came really easily. I was not too worried about the conclusion, but this one specifically was like, oh, okay, that's...
Guillermo, thank you so much for helping us understand your work more. And I look forward to seeing you in your future exhibitions.
Thank you very
And
much.
good luck with your exhibition
Thanks.
tonight and for a month. You're
For a
going
month soon to be here. Yes, thank you very much, and hopefully you can come by and see the show.
Yes. Again, we are at 306 Cumberland in Ottawa at La Petite Mort. And many thanks to Mr. Guy for allowing me to video record. Thank you so much.